because I may need that. But hey y'all, excuse me. Nice to see y'all here. Today we'll be going over how to transition into trading full time. So I feel like I'm qualified to teach this subject just because I've done it. Like I have experience in it. I did work. And so I did transition into trading full time after a while. And so I do feel like I'm a little bit qualified to teach this exact topic here. So let's go into an introduction, a little bit about me, where I started, how I've gotten here. So basically, I started trading 5 years ago when I was a college student, sophomore, junior year, somewhere around that time. And I was trading. Initially, I started with IML, transitioned to learning on my own. And so, for most part, I am self-taught. Most of the things that I know, it's because I taught myself. I've taken mentorships here and there, but for the most part, it was just trial and error with me. So I started as a college student. I was making money from the first year that I was trading, but it was not enough for me to be able to take it full time because I moved to a new city. I moved by myself. I didn't have anybody to like support me, like to be my backbone. And so it wasn't enough for me to necessarily say I want to trade full time when I graduated from college. So I decided to work. So I had the skill, I knew how to do it. I just wasn't consistent enough. It wasn't bringing me in enough money at the time for me to take it full time. And so I got a job as a data analyst. My bachelor's is in biology, and while I was getting my master's, I was working as well as a data analyst. And so I worked for a year as a data analyst, and I loved the job. I loved the actual job I was doing. I hated corporate world. I hated that environment. I hated the toxicity that came with it. I hated the hours. I hated the lack of work-life balance. So I love my job. I just hated what came along with me working that job. So I decided that I wanted to take this full time. Now, what that meant for me was I had to do a little bit of like adjusting my lifestyle to be able to eventually take this full time. And so today I'm gonna just basically take you through all of the steps that I took to allow me to transition from working full time to trading full time. I'm gonna break it all down for you. This may be a long meeting, but it won't be like heavily reliant on like trading information. I have two webinars already where I broke down the basics of trading already, and so I won't be necessarily going over that again. I'll just be taking you through the steps that I took, and so just basic, walkthrough of what I did. So let's get into it. So the biggest step in my transition was discipline. So when I was in college and I first started trading, like I said, I was making money from the beginning. I would make like $100 there, $200 here. It wasn't consistent, but I also wasn't consistent either. I didn't have discipline. I didn't have like a clear structure. I didn't have a plan. I had nothing. And so I was just trading basically to make money. I was just making what I could. And so the thing that changed in my trading that allowed me to be able to be full time was I was disciplined and I made a plan. And so being disciplined, following my plan allowed me to be able to take that step to be full time. But none of that would have been possible if I didn't actually stick to it. And so I will say the biggest step in all of this, before I even get into the meat and bones of it, is just being disciplined. That's it. You need to be disciplined and follow the rules and stick to it. If you don't have the heart to do it, trading full time may be a little bit challenging or it may take a little bit longer for you. So I didn't want to go backwards. I want to go forwards. So it's a three-step process, and I'm going to take you through the three-step process that I had. And so basically, number one, you have to become a profitable trader, take you through how to do that. Number two, you have to create a plan and a timeline. I'll take you through how to do that. And then number three, you're going to take the leap. I will talk a little bit about what that looks like and how to do that. So step one is to become a profitable trader. So before even thinking about taking this full time, before even like having that on your mind, you have to be profitable. Like you have to know how to trade. You need to know the ins and outs of what this is, what the industry is like. And so before you could even get to that point of saying, oh, I want to be a full-time day trader, I want to do this full time, you do need to know the industry because it can be a little cutthroat, it can be a little brutal. So let's talk a little bit about that. And so my journey to becoming profitable, a little bit about it. Like I said in the beginning, I've been trading for 5 years. I've been full-time for like a year and a half now. And the the difference that like I made to become profitable, like the change that I saw when I became profitable, wasn't really in my trading style because my trading has not changed. I want to say over the past like 3 years for the most part. I've done the same thing. It hasn't changed that much. The only thing that changed was the fact that I tailored my plan a little bit differently to be able to make more money, you know? So it didn't really change. My journey didn't really, my strategy didn't change. The journey changed a little bit, but the strategy didn't change. I just had to make a plan to be able to make more money, to be able to get to the point that I'm at. And so I wanted to say that you can be making money from your first year, especially if you have a good mentor. Like this journey can be easier for some and harder for others, but as long as you have a good mentor and you stick to your strategy, you can be profitable. So that's my journey to becoming profitable. I think I could have been full-time a lot sooner if I had a mentor, but I did not have a mentor that taught me the ins and outs, and it was a little bit harder learning it on my own, but here we are. So your first step is going to be to learn the basics. So at the basics of trading, and this is just the little spiel that I'm going to give you about what trading is so if we expect the market to go up, we're going to buy. If we expect the market to go down, we're going to sell. That's the basics of it. That's like skin and bones, raw meat. That's what trading is. And so I'm an analogy person. I love examples. And so for example purposes, I'll explain like this in something that you can understand. And so let's say you bought a pair of shoes, a pair of sneakers, right? You bought them for $100 and you thought the value of them was going to increase, right? So you bought the shoes with the idea that you were going to sell them if the value increased. So you bought the shoes for $100. Let's say like a week later, the shoes are not worth $200, right? So you've made $100 on top of what you spent because you sell the shoes for $200. So that's kind of what trading is like in a like theory sense. You're just profiting off of something increasing or decreasing in price. That's it. That's all it is. And so before the first step of like becoming a profitable trader is to learn the basics, learn the ins and outs, learn the terminology, learn the background behind it, how it works. And so that's going to be your first step. Your second step is going to be to understand your strategy. You can get a strategy from somebody else, like a mentor, like somebody can teach you theirs, like you can learn mine if you wanted to. Or you could build your own strategy. That's not impossible. It may take a little bit longer. It's not impossible. But I would just say your first step, learn the basics. Number two, understand your strategy in and out, write it down. You need to understand it like the back of your hand. Like you need to know your strategy in and out, how it works, what days work best, which weeks work best. When should you be trading? When should you not be trading? Like this week is election week, so I may not be trading because I do not like election week. I have um I have a I have experience with the last election because I was trading during the last election. So I kind of have an idea of what happens during elections. I prefer not to trade this week. But that's just a part of me having the knowledge and understanding my strategy and understanding how the market works. I'm recording, so you'll get the recording afterwards. Um, because I'm already recording. So number three, after you've learned the basics and you understand your strategy, you have to decide a time to trade. And I think this is the part of working a full-time job that can be a little bit tricky is figuring out a time frame that you're gonna trade on. So I trade futures. Futures is open almost 24 hours a day. I think it's 23 hours. It closes for like an hour a day. And these are the sessions that there is. And so some of these overlap, but when I was working full time, I would trade London session. So from 3 a.m. to 12 a.m., I would be on the charge from like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. this Eastern Standard Time, because I worked from 9 to 5. So 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then I would get ready for work in those little 2 hours I had between like 7 to 9. I would get ready for work during then. But that's what worked for me because I wanted to trade while I was still working because I was trading before I started working. I just had to like adjust it to fit the schedule that I now had. So my new schedule basically. So there's Asian session, meaning you could trade after work. There's London session, you can trade before work, and the New York session may not work for both, most especially if you work a 9 to 5, because New York session is really like the chunk of the day. You know, it may work if you work overnights. Didn't work for me because I worked throughout the day. And so your third step is deciding what time you're going to trade. Are you going to trade in the middle of the day? Are you going to trade in the morning? Are you going to trade in the evening? And do that every day. So if you decide that you're going to trade in the evening, I would recommend you do that every single day. I traded from 4 to 7, Monday to Friday. like every day like clockwork. I didn't change it. I didn't do the morning some days and the evening some days. No, every day I did the exact same thing like a robot. So this step 3, once you learn the basics and you understand your strategy, I'd recommend you setting a time for you to trade every single day and stick to that time like clockwork every day. Step number 4 is going to create a trade plan. This is an important step in becoming a profitable trader. And it's a lot of information on the screen. So I'm not going to go over every single thing because we'd be here all day. But I'm going to slide over them a little bit. So number 1, define your goals. So for me, when I was going on this journey, my goal was to be a full-time trader. And on top of that, I wanted to save a certain amount of money before I took that leap. So there was a specific amount of money that I wanted to make before I would take the leap to say, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and take this full time. So I wrote that stuff down. Like I had an actual plan of like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is how much I want to make. This is where I want to be. And I wrote that down. So that's the first step. You're not gonna know where you're going if you don't write that down or you don't plan it out. It's impossible. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to choose a trading style. There's 3 different trading styles. So the first one is scalping. Scalping is holding a trade for a couple of minutes. So you'll be in and out of a trade. It may take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Ideally, you would want to be out of your trade within an hour. That's what scalping is. Day trading is holding your trades for like hours at a time. So you may hold your trades for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. As long as you're closing them within a day, I think that's considered day trading. Swing trading is a little bit longer. Swing trading involves trading over a long period of time. So it could be days, weeks, months. I've seen some people hold trades for months. So it's not my cup of tea, but I know people do it. When I was working full time, I scalped and I did day trading. But when I was day trading, the longest my trades would be is for 2 hours because that's all the time I had during the day. And so ideally, I wanted to close my trades before I went to work. So you would select what your trading style is, and then you would select the market type that you want to do. So I know a lot of people are heavy options people, like they will vouch for options, and I love options too. They just didn't work for me during that time when I was trading because I worked a 9 to 5 and I was at work during the day, and the options market opens up at 9:30 in the morning. And so if you're at work, you're not able to trade it because it opens at 9:30 and I think it closes at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. So basically that's your work day. And so if you work full time and you work during the day, you won't have the access to trade options like you would want to, as similar to somebody who, didn't work during the day. So I decided on futures. I trade futures. I still trade futures. I still prefer futures because it allowed me to trade from 4 to 7 in the morning, which was ideal for my schedule just because of the time that I work. Number 4 is develop a strategy. You don't have to develop your own. You could steal it from somebody. You could take mine if you want to. Like, you don't have to do that by yourself. You can. It may take you a little bit longer, but you don't have to do that by yourself if you don't want to. I would actually recommend you not do that by yourself because it can be a little bit much. I developed my own strategy and I can tell you that it takes a long time, and when you finally get it, it's worth it, but the process of getting it is a little bit challenging. Next step, figure out like where you're gonna get the money from the start. So you could go the prop firm route. Prop firms are just companies that will give you money to trade. And so you can take a challenge with them and they'll give you like $50,000 basically to trade with if you pass that challenge, right? Or you could use your personal funds. You could fund an account like $1,000, $2,000, however much. I prefer a personal account, like personal like funds. That's all I trade with. I do have some prop firm accounts, but especially during the time when I was working, I was only trading with personal funds. That's what I preferred. I know for some people, that's not an avenue that they have access to. But if you do have access to personal funds, I'd say I'm biased. That's my preference. But prop firms also work too. They're easier to get into. It's cheaper for you to start. What brokerage? I use Tradeovate to trade. But your next thing would be to maintain a trade journal. You would track your trades and your performance over time. So how well are you doing over time? What's happening? Like, how's your strategy performing over time? That's stuff that you want to keep track of, okay? Am I winning more trades than I'm losing? Am I risking too much money? Like, what do my stats look like? And we'll get into that a little bit more later. And then the last step is to review your information regularly. So review the stuff in your trade journal regularly, and you need to stay disciplined. Like, follow your plan to the T. So once you've created this trade plan, this, you need to post it somewhere, like put it on your wall, put it on the side of your bed, put it somewhere where you can see it very often. Because for me, that's what allowed me to be able to like keep motivated to know what I was working for, because I could have been stuck in the never ending spiral of working a 9 to 5 forever, but I was able to only do that for a year because I had a plan in place that allowed me to only do that for a year, right? So the next one is to get a track record. And I talked a little bit about that in your trade plan. So, excuse me, for me to be confident in deciding to be a full-time trader, I had to have a track record. I had to prove to myself that I was actually good at this, that my strategy worked, that I was making enough money on a regular basis to be able to consider taking this full time. If I wasn't making enough money, it would be stupid of me to quit my job that was paying my bills, right? And so this is a screenshot. I don't remember exactly when I got this, like exactly the time, but this is a screenshot from when I was working full time. All this is showing me, because I think this was a trade over a week. All this is showing you that I made $10,000 in a week's time. I took 22 trades. My average trade was like a minute and 35 seconds. And my percent, like my win rate basically is 77% over this week's time frame. And so these are the stats that you want to look at. These are the stats that you want to pay attention to. This is just an example stat from when I was working, and I kept track of these. Like I had a little Google Drive folder that I would put all of them in so that I could look back week by week, because I would do it at the end of every week. How much did I make? How much did I lose? What do my stats kind of look like? So it's very important for you to get yourself a track record. I was able to look at, when I quit my job, I was able to look at my stats over the past year to say, okay, I made this amount of money over the past year. Okay, so I know that I am possibly projected to make this amount the following year. So you do want to get a track record, keep track of your things, take screenshots, take pictures, take whatever you need to be able to keep track of what you're doing over time. So now that we've got through all the become a profitable trader, blah, 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 all that fun information, now that you've become a profitable trader, you can now get into creating a plan and a timeline. Now, before we get into this, a little disclaimer. So you could do this before. You could create a plan and a timeline before you become a profitable trader. You would just have to factor in the fact that you have to become profitable in that time. So your timeline may not be as accurate if you're not already profitable, because you have to account for the time that it's going to take you to learn to become profitable. So that's fine. You could do the plan part first. I did the plan part after I became profitable, but that's only because I got my job after I was already profitable. Like I got my job just to get like steady income, but I already knew what I was doing kind of with trading. And so I made my plan afterwards. I have a mentee, she made her plan before, and it worked out. So you don't have to do these steps in order. You can pick the way that you want to do them as long as you do them. It's very important that you do them, but the order that they go in, you could kind of switch them around a little bit. So step one of your plan is the trifecta, the holy trinity, as I like to call it: budgeting, debt payoff, and saving. These are going to be the holy trinity of you being able to take this full time. And I think a lot of times educators in the training space do not emphasize the effects that financial literacy have on you being able to take this full time. I would be a horrible mentor and a horrible person to tell you that you could just become a profitable trader and take this full time, and that's all that you need. It's not. You need to be able to follow your budget. You need to be able to see your debt, pay it off. You need to be able to save your money, know how to save. All these things are important in the process of becoming a profitable trader. So I'm going to take you through how I was able to do it, the steps that I took, the tools that I used basically to budget, pay off my debt, and save. So not backwards, forwards. So budgeting. This is the budgeting spreadsheet I use. So little disclaimer, I was a data analyst. Okay. I love data. I love Google Sheets. I love spreadsheets. I love doing fun little things like this. So I made this myself from scratch for me to be able to budget my money. And this is how I budget. So I budgeted on a percentage based tracker kind of. So I would say, okay, I'm gonna allocate 70% to needs, 20% to wants, 10% to savings and debt. You could change those percentages. They don't have to like be what I use. And this isn't like an actual picture of my budget. This is just numbers that I had put in. But this is the exact budget template that I use. And we can actually go look at it. I pulled it up right here. So this is a spreadsheet that I used to budget my money before I became a full-time trader, meaning whether you're paid monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever it is, you would actually go in and put your like how much you make, you would put your percentages in, and it'll automatically calculate like the amount, and then you put your bills in, and it literally it does most of the thinking for you. It tells you how much you have left in your budget. This was my best friend when I was budgeting when I was working. You know, like even if you aren't trying to become full time, I do think having a budgeting spreadsheet just to budget your money is amazing. Like, great. So, this is a budgeting tracker that I made for myself to use during that time. I adapted it so it's monthly, biweekly, and weekly. And I also have a bill splitter. So, if you're paid biweekly, which I would pay my bills in like chunks. And so like I would save a little bit of money for my first paycheck, a little bit of money for my second paycheck, and then I would just basically pay the bill once I got my second paycheck. And I would do that for like big bills like rent, car notes, car insurance, utilities, stuff like that. I put a bill splitter in here that will split it over your paycheck. And so if you get paid like biweekly, it will basically tell you how much you need to set aside per paycheck to be able to pay the bill, which I thought was really helpful. And so this is the exact budget tracker that I used when I was trying to, quit my job and be a trader full time. Let's go back. So budgeting is extremely important. You have your hand raised. What's the question? I'll stop for I'll stop for that. Do I mind sharing the format? We'll get into that. I will get into that. I'm not just gonna keep it all to myself. We'll definitely get into it. But yeah, so budgeting, extremely important. It's extremely important that you budget and you stick to the budget that you create. Next is debt payoff. So I also made a debt payoff spreadsheet for myself. I wasn't significantly in debt when I was trying to get like to transition to being full-time. But learning how to pay off your debt, understanding what your debt looks like, setting a debt timeline is extremely important, especially if you have like small debt, like credit cards or like personal loans or something like that you want to pay off. I do think it's beneficial for you to get a plan on how to pay that off. So that needs to be in your plan, that needs to be in your timeline. We could go into my actual debt dashboard. And so this is exactly what I used. These are like fake numbers that I put in here, but you would put in your numbers and you would also include like how much you're able to pay every month. And then it'll automatically give you a payment schedule, which I think is extremely helpful for anybody who's trying to take this full time and has debt that they don't necessarily know how to pay off, or they don't have a specific plan to paying it off, because it keeps track of everything. All you have to do is put your numbers in and it does all that fun stuff for you. So that was what I did for debt. And then for savings, because I had wanted to save a specific amount of money before I took this full time. I did not want to just quit my job and I did not know what I was doing. So along with budgeting and along with setting aside money to pay off my debt, I also I used my savings calculator, and all you have to do is input, like, let's say I wanted to save $5,000 and I wanted to do it like I wanted to start November 4th and I wanted to finish like June 11th and I was paid biweekly, it'll basically tell me that I need to save $333 to be able to save that amount over time. So that's what I use to create my emergency fund of 6 to 12 months. I used a savings calculator that automatically told me how much I had to do, and you could keep track of how far you've gone. Like you can put your date and your deposit in. So those three are, dang, those three are the tools that I use to be able to budget, save, and pay off my debt before I decided to take this full time. I think it's extremely important, even if you don't pay your debt off before you want to take it full time. I think it's extremely important to just know where you're at, know what your current circumstances looking like, so that when you do decide to take this full time, you're well aware of what your finances look like and you're able to budget moving forward, right? So step two of your plan, after you know where you're at, like you know what your finances are kind of looking like, like specifically, okay, I have this much left in my budget. I have this much that I'm setting aside towards debt. I have this much I'm setting aside towards like saving. Then you can create a timeline. And so you could say, I want to be a full-time trader in a year, or I want to be a full-time trader in 2 years or 8 months or 6 months. You could say specifically how soon you want to do it or how far out you want to do it, because you're more informed of when your financial situation looks like. Number one, you're already profitable, or you already have an idea of what it's like to trade and make money. But number two, you already know what your budget looks like. So you're able to make an informed timeline. For me, it was a year. I wanted to save. I wanted to invest my money. I wanted to be able to pay some debt off. So I worked my job for an entire year. For you, it may be different depending on your situation, right? So another thing that I want to touch on in the process of creating a timeline is to use your benefits. Maximize your healthcare benefits, your 401k, especially if you have employer matching. You want to use that to your benefit before you leave your job, because once you start trading full time, any 401k investments, Roth IRA investments are going to be from your pocket. You won't have employer matching anymore. And so I use my benefits. The time that I was there, I used my benefits. And that kind of helped me a little bit because I did have that cushion of knowing that I had my 401k in the background waiting on me if I ever needed it. I'm not a component of pulling out your money early, but if I needed it, I knew I had it. And transition softly. And so in your timeline, I would recommend, if let's say you wanted to transition out of your job in a year, I would recommend that you set at like 8 months. Maybe I'll start working part-time or have another business to soften the transition, basically. So I have other businesses that help me be able to trade full-time, even though trading is the most of my money. I make most of my money from trading out of all of the businesses that I have. Um, I did have other businesses in the background to help me feel a little bit more comfortable in transitioning. But another thing that you could do is work part-time. And so if your job offers part-time like spots, like if they offer part-time positions for the same job that you have, you could possibly talk to them about switching to part-time, because that would help with keeping you with that steady income, even though it's not as much. It'll help you keep that steady income and gradually transition to being full-time as opposed to just jumping off the deep end. So step three, because we've gotten into becoming a profitable trader, we've talked about that, this kind of the steps that you need to take. We've talked about creating a plan and a timeline and how to effectively do that and how to use some of the benefits that you already have. Step three is to take the leap. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit about how to take the leap. So ideally, and for me, what I wanted was to have at least 6 to 12 months worth of savings. And how I was able to do this, because being realistic, I wasn't making significantly more from my job. My job didn't pay me significantly more than my expenses. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was just using like the money that I make from my job, basically. So I use my trading income. So any money that I made from trading, instead of spending it and blowing it and putting it somewhere else, I put it into savings. And so ideally what you would want to do, if you do not make significantly more from your job than what your expenses are, you would want to save any money that you make from trading within the timeline, because that'll help you build that 6 to 12 months worth of savings to be able to actually have an emergency fund to quit your job. Number two is staying committed. So I will say, in the journey, I was a bit discouraged. Like, I did have hiccups, I did have hurdles, especially because I had nobody there who did this before me to explain to me exactly what I needed to do. Like, I didn't have like somebody who I could talk to and be like, hey, this is the problem that I'm having, or hey, I'm feeling a little bit discouraged. I didn't have that. And so a lot of times, like, it made the journey a little bit more challenging. But I didn't give up. Like, I did stay committed to the path because this is something that I wanted, which allowed me to be here today, where I don't work a job. I haven't worked a job in a long time. Another thing is to diversify your investments. And so you could invest in properties, you could invest in a business, you can invest in a lot of different things that help to diversify your income. And so instead of just having trading as one source of income and that's the only source of income you have, maybe, buy a rental property, or maybe like invest in a business, buy shares in a business, like kind of diversify your income to be able to handle the ups and downs with trading, because trading isn't very consistent. It can be over time, but some months are not as good as others. And so you do want to diversify your investments, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And the last step of this taking the leap, which to me is the most important, is when you decide to quit your job, do not increase your living expenses for at least the first 6 months. So if your living expenses were $4,000, I would recommend you keep them at $4,000 for at least the first 6 months of you being full-time. Why I say this is because if you made an emergency fund, let's say you use $4,000 because that's your expenses. You said, okay, I have $4,000 worth of expenses. I'm going to save that for 6 months. So I'll have 6 months, 6 times 4,000 basically, in my savings. So I'll have 6 months worth of bills in the event that something were to happen, right? Let's say you have that, you save that money, and now it's time to quit your job. You quit your job. And then in the first month, you increase your living expenses from $4,000 to $8,000. So now, instead of having 6 months worth of savings, you now have way shorter, like you have a way shorter amount of savings than you would have initially had with the original plan that you had of $4,000. So I would recommend when you're getting your feet to get like feet wet, when you're getting dabbling into this industry, I would recommend keeping your bills the same for the first 6 months. Get yourself comfortable, add a little bit more to your savings if you have it. Because if you increase your bill significantly when you become a full-time trader, this could possibly hurt you if you have not got like the foundation that you need in being a full-time trader. So that's what I would recommend, not increasing your bills for the first 6 months. I didn't increase my bills for the first 6 months. My bills have increased since the first 6 months. I have definitely increased them to more than they were when I was working a full-time job. But that just comes with the territory. But for the first 6 months, they kind of remained the same. I basically lived as if I was working a job for those first 6 months that I was a full-time trader. And a bonus, and I think this is a heavy bonus, is to set up your business legally. And so if you set your business up legally, you can pay yourself as an employee. So any trading income you have, let's say you decide that you are okay with making $5,000 a month, right? That's how much you're okay with making. So you set up a business bank account and all your trading money goes into your business bank account, and you set it up so that you're paid every month $5,000, regardless of what you make. You're paid as an employee of your business $5,000. I think that's beneficial in helping you manage your money. So you know that you have money in your business bank account if you needed it, but you're still getting paid a steady amount, because trading can be inconsistent. Some months you can make 5,000, some months you can make $50,000, but if you pay yourself the same amount every single month, it'll create that buffer so that you have a savings over a longer period of time. On top of the fact that being that you're self-employed, when it's time to actually finance something, when you want to buy a house, when you want to buy a car, it's easier to do it under a business entity than under a personal entity when you are self-employed. So that's just a bonus. I'm not a tax agent. I am not a lawyer or anything. I just think it's pretty nice to have your business set up legally so that you are able to get those benefits that come along with trading, on top of the tax benefits that come along with trading when you set it up as a business. So I love a good example. As I said earlier, I don't share this example very often just because I do not like to I don't want to mislead you into learning from me just because of what I have done, because past profits do not guarantee future profits, right? But I love a good example, and I want to give you this example because I want to show you that the rules that I've set out and the plan that I set out actually works. So when I was going full time, because I've been full time for, like I said, a year and a half, I did have somebody who I know personally. I know her. She's not a friend, but I do know her in real life. She wanted to learn how to trade as well, and I was just in the beginning of becoming a full-time trader, and so I was like, okay, why not? I'll teach you what I know. So she spent 6 months learning directly from me, and we were able to make a plan together. So her goal was to quit her job in 8 months. She wanted to be a full-time trader in 8 months, and she wanted to make $10,000 a month from trading. Those were her two goals that she had starting the journey. And this is why I said you can make your plan before you actually become profitable, because she made her plan before she became profitable, that she wanted to make a certain amount and she wanted to quit her job in 8 months, right? So the plan was she was going to trade London session. She traded the same times that I trade. So from 4 to 7 a.m., that's when she would trade. She would use my strategy. And she decided that she would use prop firms initially so that she could get her feet wet. And then she would transition to personal funds over time with the money that she's made from the prop firms, basically, right? So this is my first mentee ever, y'all, like ever. I I think in part she's the reason why I decided that I wanted to start teaching people, because she's my success story, basically. But this is my first ever mentee when I first started trading full time, and I was able to give her this information because I had already done it. Like I was already full time, so I could basically walk her through what it was like to transition and what exactly she needed to do. So our first step, her first step was learning the skill. She spent 6 months learning directly from me. And then the second step was actually getting her finances in check, like the holy trinity that I was talking about, right? And so we worked together. She used my budget tracker, my debt tracker, my savings tracker. These are not pictures of hers, by the way. I'm not going to put her information out there like that. But basically what had happened was she had roughly $5,000 worth of income coming in every month. Her expenses were around $4,000 and her debt was $15,000. And she had a goal savings of 6 months worth of expenses, which was $21,000, right? So this is what we were working with. She wanted to quit her job in 8 months. She needed $21,000 saved and she needed $15,000 in debt paid off, as well as she wanted to effectively learn how to trade to be able to make $10,000 a month after she quit her job, right? So she worked with me. She's still technically working with me, even though she already knows how to trade, but she worked with me over time. We got her learning how to trade. We got her we did all the budgeting stuff together in our one-on-one sessions, basically. We knew exactly what we needed to do. We created a plan together. And, obviously she had me as a mentor to come back to anytime that she needed assistance or anything like that. And so an update, because I just kind of got this update not too long ago. So I'm pretty happy about it. So she was learning with me for 6 months. In 5 months, she was able to get funded with a prop firm. 4 accounts from a prop firm is Apex, basically. And she copy traded those accounts. So she basically treated them as one account. And so she was able to get a payout of like $2,000 bi-weekly, because that's what they allow you to get. When you trade with a prop firm, they have like a cap on how much you could get paid out bi-weekly. And so she got $2,000 per account bi-weekly, which would be $8,000 every 2 weeks and $16,000 a month. So she was able to consistently do that for a little bit. After the 5 months when she initially got funded, she was able to pay off her debt with the prop firm payouts that she got. She was able to fund her personal account and build her emergency savings 4 months after she 4 months after she got funded. So basically, her timeline was 8 months. She basically took 9 months, so one additional month than what she originally intended on taking, which it's not terrible. It's 1 month. And so extremely proud. This success story doesn't necessarily mean everybody will be a success story. Like, this does not mean that everybody will have this story, but it is possible. It's doable. Like, I don't want you guys to think that it's not possible to do in a shorter period of time. So I did want to show a success story or example of somebody who actually did this. And she now trades full time and runs a business on the side because, again, I taught her at the beginning of my journey. So when I first became full time, and I've been full time for a little while now. So yes, she now trades full time and runs a business on the side. And so I said all that to say I did it. She did it. Like, she actually did it in the time that she wanted to do it. And I believe you can too. So if you came on this call and you actually want to take trading full time, like you actually want to do this for real, I don't want you to be discouraged. Do not listen to the noise in the market. People will tell you everything that you can't do, but I've done it and she's done it. If both of us can do it, you can do it too. There's no reason that you can't, as long as you stay committed and you stick to your plan. How long it's going to take you to do it may vary. Like, you may take a little bit longer than we did. You may take longer than a year. It may take longer than 9 months. You never know, but it's not impossible. It's been done before and it can continue to be done over and over and over again. Now, shameless plug, because I do get this question a lot if you want to learn from me, right? So you can learn how to trade on your own. Before we even get into this, you can learn how to trade on your own. There's nothing wrong with learning how to trade on your own. I have tons and tons and tons of free resources available inside my Discord for you to be able to learn on your own if that's what you want to do. If you want to learn from me, I have a discount going on where you can get my course, my actual course that teaches you everything I know from A to Z, as well as two one-on-one sessions included, on sale for the next 24 hours. So if you want to learn my exact strategy, if you want to shave some time off of the time that it takes you to learn, you can get my exact strategy in this course, as well as the budgeting, saving, and debt planner that I showed you guys that I use to be able to take this full time. So all of that's included in there: the budgeting, the saving, the debt tracker, as well as the exact strategies that I've used, all of the information that I have. And you get two one-on-one sessions where we can go over your finances, we can go over, we can talk strategy. We could do whatever you basically want to do or whatever you need to be able to get you to that point of being able to trade full time, on top of the fact that any one-on-one session that you book after that point would be at a discounted price. And so you wouldn't pay full price for the one-on-one if that's what you wanted to do. And payment plans are also available. Let me actually put that on discount right now as we are speaking, because I don't think it's on discount. I'm sorry, y'all. Mm. Okay. So it's now on sale. You can get it at lakiratrace.com if you're actually interested in that. You do not have to learn directly from me. There are so many mentors out there who can teach you how to trade. There's so many free resources in the space. But if you want to shave off a little bit of time and you want to learn from me and exactly how I did it, all of that information is available in this course. Okay. And it is available at lakiratrace.com and it's on sale right now. And we have payment plans available. So now we could go into our Q&A session. So you guys can lock and load all of the questions that you have for me. Can you trade futures in Webull? You can. You can trade futures in Webull. I don't trade futures in Webull. I trade futures using Tradeovate, but you can do it. I mean, I think Webull has less features than Tradeovate does, and so that can be a little bit limiting, but if you want to, yes. I'm not sure if Webull connects to TradingView. What website do I trade on? I trade on Tradeovate and I connect it to TradingView. So if you get a Tradeovate account, you can trade on TradingView, like you can connect it to TradingView. Okay. What is the minimum amount you need to trade futures? That's heavily dependent on you. You can get a prop firm account. I think the smallest prop firm account they have available is like 25,000, or you can start trading with personal funds. I can't tell you exactly how much I started with because I started from I was in college, and so I think initially I started with $100, but when I grew that significantly. So I wouldn't say start with $100. I was just a college student. I didn't have any money at that time. But I would say a good starting point if you want to trade with your personal account and not go prop firms, I would say 500 minimum, at least 1,000, in my opinion, to start trading with a personal account or go the prop firms route. Do you account for all the subscriptions? What do you mean all the subscriptions? Let me know what you mean all the subscriptions. And that's the market where I can trade in the morning from 4 to 7. Yes, you can trade futures in the morning from 4 to 7 a.m. Um, yeah. Was I nervous trading full time? Yes and no. I love it. I love trading in itself. And when I was in college, I mean, being a broke college student, most of my income came from trading itself. So I kind of knew what it was like to trade full time. I just didn't know what it was like to have like the responsibilities, like hard responsibilities, like rent, car note, and all that stuff while trading full time. So it was nerve-wracking at first, but I also did plan it very well. And I had a pretty good savings because I did save like at least like I think I had like 10 or 11 months worth of savings saved up. So I wasn't too scared because I knew that even if I were to fall hard, I at least had savings that could help me, help buffer me. And I also had a degree. So if I had to go back to work, I mean, I could. I did not want to. So that wasn't an option. But I mean, degree was nice. What platform do I use to trade? I use Trade Um, I use Tradeovate to trade. The Excel spreadsheet that I use to spread out my finances, is it in the ebook or do I have a link for it? Um, it's in the course. It's not in the ebook. It's in the course. I don't charge for it. I include it in the course because I do think for anybody that wants to go full time and they're learning directly from me, they should have access to all of the resources that I use to take this full time. So it's only available in the course. It's not in the ebook. It's not shared in the ebook. Trader bait? No, Tradovate. Let me type it. Tradovate. I'm sorry, y'all. I have an accent. I know I do. How did I manage to switch off of health insurance with my employer? They just they kicked me off. They just kicked me off. The health insurance I have now, I just pay out of pocket as a self-employed person, but they took me off the health insurance that I had with my employer because the health insurance that I had was paid out of my paycheck. So I didn't pay it directly to like whoever. It just came out of my paycheck every month. And so they just kicked me off once I quit. Tradeovate. Do I stick to a certain ticker or multiple? I trade only NQ. That's the only futures contract that I trade. There are more. There's crude oil, there's ES, there's silver, there's gold, there's so many different ones that you could trade. But I prefer NQ. When you hit $25,000, do you get a payout or do they pay you over time? So they pay you over time. You can initially, when you first get funded, especially if it's with Apex, you can withdraw up to $2,000 biweekly. As long as you've made $2,000, obviously. So basically, $2,000 is what you could take out biweekly. The good thing with Apex is you could have multiple accounts, and so you can have like 4 accounts, 10 accounts. I think you can have up to 20 accounts. And so if you get more accounts, like let's say you would get 4 accounts with Apex, instead of just withdrawing like $4,000 biweekly, I mean $2,000 biweekly, you would withdraw like $8,000 biweekly because you would withdraw 2,000 per account. So it's nice to have more accounts, but yeah, you can withdraw it over time. Do I use subscriptions and TradingView or do I pay for Tradeovate and stuff? Um, So I pay for both. So I pay for TradingView Premium. So I have TradingView Premium that I pay for right now. And I also pay for market data, but I pay for market data, I believe, through Tradeovate. And then for Tradeovate, I also pay a fee to be able to connect Tradeovate to TradingView. And I think it's like $10 or something like that. So yeah, there are subscriptions that you do have to pay for TradingView and both for Tradeovate. But I count them as a business expense. I mean, as long as you make more than what it costs. So I think altogether my expenses for TradingView and Tradeovate, they cost me maybe $60, $70, but it's an expense. I make more than that, so it doesn't hurt. Okay. How easy is it to pivot to a different strategy if your current strategy loses its effectiveness? Or do you maintain multiple strategies at a time? Hmm. Pivoting to a new strategy is not easy. It's not. Because there's such a thing as information overload where it's like, let's say I have strategy A and I have strategy B, right? So let's say they're different. Sometimes when you get on the chart and you're trying to trade strategy B, you see the stuff for strategy A. So it could be a little bit challenging switching strategies. The strategy that I have has worked. It's stood the test of time so far. I mean, I've been trading for a while and it's worked. I have multiple strategies that also work. But I would recommend, especially for beginners, just learn one and stick to that one. And if you realize that it's not working anymore, try to forget the one that you learned and learn a different one. But my strategy has been consistent over the past couple of years, so I haven't had to really change it. I have multiple, but I only trade one at a time. 4 to 7 EST, yes, 4 to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Are there futures that you can trade on the weekend? I don't know. I've heard that you can trade Bitcoin futures on the weekend. How true that is, I'm not sure because I don't trade Bitcoin futures. But that would be something that you have to research, basically, um, if you want to trade on the weekend. Because I think there are some that are open on the weekend, but I couldn't tell you them. I love how detailed you are on your plan. Excel sheet was fire. Thank you. I see the good thing about this is I've done it before, so I know exactly what you need to do. Like I've done every one of these steps before. So I can tell you like you need to budget, you need to plan for your debt, you need to do all of these things because I've done it. And I'm literally giving you guys the exact resources that I use to do it. So yes. I think me being a data analyst did also help with my transition because I'm really good with the numbers. So I was able to prepare myself financially. Is it easier to trade on your computer or on your phone? Um, I don't trade on my phone. I can't tell you if it's easier or not because I have never traded futures using my phone before. I've only traded using the computer, so I don't know. I don't know. I think that's something that you would have to do and come back and tell me if it's easier to trade on your phone or your computer, because I've never done it on the phone to know if it's easier. I prefer trading on the computer though, just because I have two screens. So I have this one that I'm looking at you guys on, and I have one over here as well. So that helps me to be able to look at more charts and basically monitor things a little bit better. So that's why I trade on my computer, but it's doable on your phone. Do you teach how to trade multiple accounts with prop firms like your students? Yes, I do. I don't trade with prop firms, but I can teach you how to trade with prop firms because I did go through the process of passing those accounts just to be able to kind of get a feel for it. So I have a few. I don't trade with them, but I could teach you how to do it because I've done it before. I think as a teacher, it's extremely important to do something so that you're able to teach your students how to do that. So it would be unfair of me to tell y'all you have to use prop firms, and I haven't even passed a prop firm account. So yes, I have. What options do you like? I've been sticking to the indices, QQQ, SPY, and SPX. I think those are the best, in my opinion. Um, I think those are the best. I do trade, if I'm trading options, I'll trade Tesla and Apple and Nvidia here and there, but not consistently. I also don't trade options as consistently either. But yeah, those are a good three to stick with. I would say if you're gonna trade QQQ, don't trade SPY, or if you're gonna trade SPY, don't trade QQQ because they're basically the same. They move the same, they're slightly different, but for the most part, they move almost the same. Which one of my products is great for learning my strategy specifically? I would say the course is the best for learning my strategy specifically. Like I teach my strategy in depth in my course. Like you have quizzes, you have video recordings, you have like it's a whole 9 yards. I put a lot of effort into it. And then if you bundle it with the 2 1-on-1s, because I'm basically offering the 2 1-on-1s for free now with the bundle that I have, not only do you learn my strategy, but you have access to me to be able to ask questions. We could go over your finances, make you a plan, do whatever you want to do on the 1-on-1 sessions. And they're an hour, so they're 1 hour sessions. I really need that structure. Not a lot of traders with programs give that. Yeah, you need structure, especially if you're not already doing this full time or you don't have the time to be able to do this full time. You do need structure. You need a plan. For instance, with my mentees, I am doing a mentorship with 10 women. I can actually show you guys. 1 second. I think it'd be cool to kind of show you guys. Can I stop sharing my screen? Stop. So I'll show you guys the actual plan that I have for my mentees to learn. Because when I tell you, like, I do not play. Like, if I am gonna teach you how to trade, I'm gonna teach you how to trade. You're gonna learn. Syllabus. Here. Here. So this is the actual syllabus that I have for my mentees, right? So when I tell you, like, you learn everything, like everything, I give you assignments, I give you due dates. Now, mentorship is closed. All the spots are reserved. I've already sent out acceptance letters and everything. But when I tell you, like, I don't play when it comes to learning, like, I do not play. Like, I will, if I took you on as a mentee, you will learn what you need to know. So, yeah. Um, that's how I am as a teacher. I think it's very good to give people a structure because it's extremely important in you being able to be a successful trader because a lot of people don't lack the motivation to do it themselves or they don't even know where to start. And so I provide that structure for you because you're a beginner. You don't know where to start. You don't know what to search. You don't know what to Google. So I kind of give that structure that you need. What if you have a mentor who trades a different time than you? Hmm. I think I think that would be when you would want a strategy that works kind of universally. Like my strategy, I could trade it in the morning, I could trade it during the day, I could trade it in the evening. Um, my strategy is a little bit flexible. So as long as they're teaching you a strategy that works for the time that you're going to be trading, that's all that's important to me. You know, um, learn from somebody who has a fairly universal strategy that you could apply regardless of time. I think that's good. Um, when I'm reading charts, what exactly am I looking for? Like what's important to look for? I trade supply and demand. I could go in depth with that, but we'd be talking all day. We could sit here and talk about that all day. But I basically trade supply and demand. That's it. Um, and there's specific criteria that I look for, but all of that, I mean, yeah, we could talk about that all day. I don't want to go too far into it. Is it hard to get set up with prop firms? No, it's not. As long as you have a good mentor and you have a good strategy, it's not hard. All you have to do, typically, they ask you to make a certain amount. So like for $50,000 accounts, I think for the evaluation to pass, you have to make $3,000 to show them that you can trade. And then after that, they give you a real account. And so it's fairly straightforward. Anything after that, you typically um they ask you to make a buffer. So they ask you to like make a certain amount before you can take a payout. And then once you make that, any other money you make is yours. So the process for a beginner, it may be a little bit complicated, but it's fairly simple. Do I use MetaTrader? No, I'm in the US and I think they banned MetaTrader in the US, I think. I think some people still use it, but I haven't seen anybody using it. Can you do options if you trade futures? Yes, I trade both of them, but I prefer futures. But I do trade options. My strategies work for options. Like the strategies that I teach for futures, they work for options as well. I actually stop sharing my screen, but they work for options as well. So you can trade both. Um, is it a credit score for a prop firm? No, you don't need a credit score. All you have to do is pay to pass the evaluation. So if the fee is like, I know for some they charge like $35. You have to pay $35 to be able to take the evaluation. That's it. Oh, you're welcome. How is the mentorship different from the course? So the course is self-paced. And so, excuse me, the course is self-paced, so you get to do it on your own time. So you can decide, okay, I'm gonna study every day from like 5 to 7, or you could do it in the morning. So you get to learn how you please. It's not like I don't have the time set up. So there's video recordings basically, and you watch the video recordings as you please, and then you book a one-on-one if you're interested in getting a one-on-one session. Basically, that's how that works. Mentorship, on the other hand, I'll share my screen again. Mentorship, on the other hand, as you can see, like you're not doing this by yourself. Like it's not self-paced at all. These are actual classes that you're gonna be sitting in. So like for instance, November 16th, you'll be sitting in class. I have specific times. Like I tell you exactly when the times are, when we're gonna be having classes. And so it's not self-paced. You have to show up to class if you're gonna take mentorship. Whereas with the course, it's self-paced, everything's recorded. And so you can take it at your leisure. If it takes you 5 months to do it, that's fine. If it takes you a couple of weeks to do it, that's fine as well. It's completely up to you when you take the course, how long it's gonna take you to basically get done. Very excited to start on the 15th. I love that. I'm so excited to start mentorship, y'all. Mentorship starts on the 15th. And this is my first like official cohort of girls. I've taught people before how to trade, but this is my first official cohort. And so this is exciting. Do I trade order flow? I think in some ways I do. It depends. I see so many different I see so many different like definitions of order flow thrown around. And so I can't say for sure, yes, I do trade it, but I think I don't know. How long is mentorship? I love that the way you're teaching it. Thank you. How long is mentorship? Mentorship is basically 6 months, but it's not 6 months of learning. So the first month, I teach you everything. So the first one is intensive, like we hit the ground running, like you're learning like a lot of information. And then the other 5 months is just applying the information. So you have access to me. You show me your charts, like we talk over things. We have Q&A sessions. We have little classes here and there. But for the remaining 5 months is basically for you to actually go out and trade. And basically go out and trade, and you should be sending me your charts for you to get feedback on what you're actually doing so that I can tell you, hey, you're doing this right, or hey, you're doing this wrong. And so that's kind of how I like to teach. I want to give you the information, but I also want to see you apply the information so that I can correct you if you're doing something wrong. So the first month, I'll teach you everything. The 5 months after that, you're actually going to go out and trade, and you're going to give me your results, and I'm going to give you feedback. So you're going to send pictures of your charts. And basically, I'll just be able to help you kind of refine your trading to be able to be successful. So that's kind of how mentorship works. When would I do another a mentorship application? I'm thinking February, but I can't promise February. I just have to see how long it takes me to get done with my girls. I don't want to rush them, so I'm thinking February because that gives me enough time to kind of get them to where they need to be. Even though their 6 months obviously would not be up, they should be at a good point to where I could do an intensive mentorship with another round of girls and kind of like pool the two of them together gradually over time. Everybody kind of learn from each other in the group. So I'm thinking possibly February, for my next mentorship round. I think I need to trade hours out of work so I can focus and move. Yeah, yeah. I know somebody she tries to trade during work, but um, she tries to trade during work, but she is unsuccessful. That like doesn't work. So and that never worked for me. I worked a really demanding job, so there was no way that I was gonna be able to trade during work. So trading before work just always worked for me. That did mean that I had to go to bed earlier. So I went to bed really, really early, y'all. Like really early to be able to wake up at 4 a.m. So yeah, I definitely traded extremely I traded early in the morning. Um and that required me to go to bed a little bit earlier, but yeah. Looking for the button for mentorship. What do you mean? Like to join mentorship? Is that what you're asking about? Um, I believe I applied to mentorship. Did you only send up the letters to those who accepted? No, I think I accepted you, Crystal. I'm not gonna lie. I think you were accepted. Check your email. I think you were accepted. Um, but if reach out to me because I do think that I accepted you, but I do know some people's acceptance letters were going to spam. So I would say reach out to me. I've traded during the work. I would prefer not to. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because trading is something that I don't want to say like you have to be glued to the screen, but you also have to pay attention to what's happening. And if somebody asks you to do something, or if you get called into a meeting or something like that can affect your trading. Even if you're profitable, just because you're not able to actually focus and pay attention on the chart, that could affect you actually winning that trade or losing that trade. So I was not able to do that. What time? Because I live in Texas and it's hard trading. What do you mean? What time did I trade? I traded from 4 a.m. to 7 Eastern Standard Time. Um, so the applications for mentorship are closed. I had an overwhelming amount of applications and I only accept 10 women into mentorship. So it was not a lot of spots and it was a lot of applications. So they're closed and they'll be closed until probably mid-January to February of next year. That's why I'm kind of excited. Yes, you should. You should learn. You should learn how to trade futures. Do you trade every day at 4 a.m.? No, now that I trade full time, I trade New York session, y'all. Like I like the cool, laid back, chill. I can get up at 8 a.m. I don't gotta get up at 4 a.m. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep in. I deserve it. I earned it. But yeah, I trade at 9 now. I trade New York session because I just prefer it now that I do this full time. I clock in the road. Yeah, it is. It is. It was hard for me when to go from being a college student and to be having like I had so much time in undergrad, y'all. Like I was so available to go from being like completely free to trade New York session to now having to trade London session and having to learn London session was a little bit of a challenge, y'all. Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge. Yes, the recording will be made available. It will. I will have the recording available. Yes, I did go to sleep early. Like I would get off of work and go to sleep almost immediately. New York session do be the New York session do move. It moves significantly more than any of the other times, and so I prefer it. But it is unavailable if you're working. Yes, I was in IML. I was in IML for like a month. I was in IML for a month. They asked me to recruit people. I said no. And that ended there. But I'm grateful for IML because that's what introduced me to the world of trading altogether because I didn't even know trading was a thing before then. But I did not stay with them very long. I was not very keen on recruiting people. Trades New York Open. Yeah. Yeah, that's a different type of crazy right there. I'm over my 9 to 5. I'm ready to make a plan. Yes, you should. Like even if it's not learning for me, guys, like I do want to emphasize, even if it's not learning for me, if you're sick of your 9 to 5, make a plan to get out, whether it's trading, running your own business, finding another job, whatever it is, like make a plan to get out. If you want to learn how to trade, you can learn from me. I think I'm a pretty good teacher, but even if not, find some resources that you have like access to be able to learn. Like it's extremely important that you actually like take the steps to get out of the situation that you're in, making a plan to get out of the situation that you're in. How do I find you again? I randomly saw your post really soon. Oh, I'm on Threads a lot. I chat on Threads a lot. And so if you follow me on Threads, that's where you'll find me most. You can also follow me on Instagram. I answer all of my DMs for the most part. So if you ever DM me on Instagram, the only way that I won't answer you is if I didn't see it. But for the most part, I respond. Tokyo session. I've been trying to get into it. I've been trying to get into it because I've been backtesting my strategy. I've done a lot of backtesting because I'm about to teach my first mentorship round and I want to be able to teach as effectively as I can. And I've been backtesting Asian session a little bit because um I think it could be beneficial. And I also like that it moves a little bit slower. Because I'm used to being in and out of trades pretty fast, but Tokyo session moves a little bit slower. So I'm interested to see what happens with my strategy as I backtest it over Asian session. What did I trade during London session? I always traded NQ. That's the only thing I ever traded. I did a couple of years. That's a long time. Yeah. You should take training for even if you just do it on the side of doing something else full time, I think trading is still beneficial. What do I think of Forex trading? You just follow me after. Oh, great. I'll be looking out for it. Give me 1 second. But Forex trading, I like Forex, but I like Forex, but I don't like it as much as futures. So basically, with Forex, the strategies kind of work the same. So my strategy works on Forex and it works on futures. I originally learned how to trade on Forex, so I won't spread too much hate on it. But I don't like that Forex is unregulated. Um, and I don't like the spreads on Forex. I think that's the only two things that I have to say about Forex. I don't think it's a scam. I traded Forex initially and there's money to be made on Forex. I just prefer futures just because like instead of like accounting for spreads, I don't have to worry about that. And I can also trade directly on TradingView. The one thing that I did not like with Forex was the fact that sometimes your broker data and TradingView data would be completely different. And so I'll enter a trade based on TradingView's data and my broker's data was completely different. And so that was one of the things that I didn't like, which was a heavily like that's why I kind of pushed towards futures, on top of the fact that I would get stopped out because of spreads. And I didn't like that either. Like the trade itself wouldn't stop me out. My spread would stop me out. And so I didn't like that either. So those are some of the reasons why I transitioned. I don't think there's anything wrong with Forex. Forex is always great. Forex is a good time, but I prefer futures. I prefer futures. Yes, broker manipulation. That happens a lot in Forex. It does. There's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with Forex. I started there, but futures definitely has my heart. Definitely. Definitely. Any more questions? Y'all asking some good questions. Y'all asking some good questions. Any more questions? Y'all going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, so we're gonna end it here. I had so much fun talking to y'all. Like, this was extremely fun. If you ever have any questions, if you ever don't understand something, you just need somebody to talk to, you're frustrated, whatever it may be, whatever it is on your trading journey, you're trying to take this full time, you're not sure how to do it, you just need somebody to talk to, I'm here. My DMs are always open. I am, I think, one of the most welcoming people in the trading industry. I've done it before. I know what it feels like. I know how challenging it can be. It's not for the faint of heart. And I want to be that support for you, even if you don't buy my course. Like, y'all, I make significant amounts of money with trading. I am not going to badge you guys to buy my course. I am only here to say, like, if you actually want to learn from me, that's a good avenue. But if you want to learn yourself, that's also doable too. I was able to self-educate. It took me longer, obviously, but I was able to do it. And so you're able to do it too. But if you ever just need that like reassurance, or you just need somebody to talk to, vent, whatever it may be, I am here. I am open. I am welcoming. If you guys do want to get my course, it is available on thecuratrades.com. And it'll only be on sale for the next 24 hours. So take it or leave it. And I will see you guys later. I'll be hosting more of these, and so stay tuned for the other ones that I host. I would like to keep updated with you guys, so please do reach out to me and tell me how your journey is going, and if you follow any of the things that I talked about in today. But besides that, y'all, I'll see you later. Bye.